Yeah, thank you for joining us for the Gallagher and Security in Focus webinar. I'm Carl Harris. I'm the SANT Sales Manager for Gallagher, and today I'm joined by Dean Matheson, the Technical Account Manager for Victoria, and we have Rob Hughes, the Enterprise Software Manager from Head Office in New Zealand. And yeah, so we're going to go run through some of the new features with Gallagher Command Center 830, and yeah, we had quite a lot of feedback from a number of webinar pre-registrations that people wanted to know a little bit more about yeah, the current COVID-19 situation and yeah, how the Gallagher platform can sort of assist with you know, sites and site management. So we'll cover that off to start with. Right, so I think we're good to go. Yeah, so COVID-19 and Gallagher. So with COVID-19, there's been a lot of challenges thrown up to site management and yeah, compliance with various state, territory and government regulations. So we just want to cover off some of the tools that the Gallagher platform has off the shelf that can really assist with yeah, trying to hit some of those points. So we've created recently a free contact tracing report. So it's a utility that generates a report that highlights history of contact between cardholders and other cardholders at times. So the example would use that, say, on the 28th of May, being today, I went to visit a customer's premises, went into reception, then I might have taken access to, say, something like a warehouse. Yeah, maybe in a week's time, it turns out that I was COVID positive. I would let the site know. They would be able to run the contact tracing report, and they would be able to do that over the predetermined time, and that would indicate any potentially other card holders that have been in contact with me during the time that I was there. So that's really nice. That really helps address some of those concerns that we have with clusters of COVID popping up and that we're seeing around the world. VMS integrations, that was another big one that people were very curious to know about. Are we able to do fever detection or camera temperature alarms? I guess, yeah, the short answer is yes. We've got an integration to quite a large number of VMS platforms. So when they're paired with the right kind of camera technology that are running thermal, you could, for instance, say run like a thermal camera looking at fever condition for people coming into the reception area. Then you would be able to trigger an alarm that might want to initiate a zone lockdown. So if somebody in that area was demonstrating fever condition, you'd be able to prevent them from gaining further access into the property. I think, Dean, you had another interesting use case.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Certainly, one of the options that presented itself was using a thermal camera that alarmed directly to command center. And from that, we could either enable, disable competencies or lockdowns. And basically how that would function is a cardholder would present a card. If they were over temperature, it wouldn't allow that card to be activated. Or if they were detected and they were within the normal temperature range, their card would be activated and they could move on. Thanks, Carl.
Cool, thank you, Dean. Moving on to cardholder limits. This is a feature that's been in Gallagher for quite a long time now, and it's probably very, very helpful during this current, during the current crisis. So as we're seeing states and territories and other governments moving to ease restrictions and allow people to go back into offices and go back into certain businesses, there seem to be assigning limits on people or cardholders people that are allowed within those organisations. So the example that we'll use here, how Gallagher can really help with that, is South Australia. On Monday, gymnasiums are opening up, but they've got a hard limit of 80 people per, 80 concurrent people allowed on site at any one time. So within the cardholder limits tool, we're able to set a limit that once it would get to, say, the maximum limit of 80, no further people would be able to gain access to the gymnasium. Yeah, with our broadcast notifications engine, we can potentially set up notifications that once the gym gets to maximum limit, you could send an SMS or an email to all the other gym members that the gym's currently full, so don't bother coming. And conversely, run reports. So if you're ever challenged by state or government authorities on whether you're complying to this, you'd certainly be able to run a report to demonstrate very easily that you're fitting in certainly within that limitation criteria. Something else, obviously, people are very keen to hear about is touchless access readers. So on the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the Morpho Wave reader. So we've got a really nice integration to Morpho Wave where you're able to enroll people's credentials, being their fingerprints or their 4 fingers. So they don't have to touch any reader, they don't have to present a card, all they have to do is swipe their hands through, and that's fast enough to do about 40 reads per minute from what I understand. So it's a pretty fast, easy system to use. We also have our touchless credentials, being our Bluetooth credentials. So the point here is that you can issue a Bluetooth credential from anywhere. People don't have to come to a central location and be issued a card. So we're able to issue over the air a Bluetooth credential that's contactless, that people using their phones can start access areas. They can come boom gates, doors, all sorts of things. It's really helping to cut down that touch point and also reduce groups. Rob, I think you were going to talk a little bit about something else.
Just to add on the contact tracing report, so that's independent of Command Center, and that can be run from 790 onward. Cool, back to you, Carl.
Cool, thank you. Right, so into the nuts and bolts, Command Center 830. So we wanted to go through some of the highlights within the Command Center 830 build. There's a lot of material here, so we've cut it down to some real highlights. Obviously, at the end of this, you're going to get a link. We'll share with you the full release notes if you'd like to download that. So there's a lot more info in there, as well as the unabridged Command Center version. And today we're going to run through some of the, like I said, the highlights, and then actually some real world scenarios and see how that's of benefit to you, your sites, your customers' sites. Command Center Mobile, this is a platform that has been evolving significantly over the last couple of years, and we're continuing to add features to this, and it's quite an important platform as we move forward. Okay, so we'll just start the video off. Okay, so in the previous version, we were able to, in Command Center Mobile, we'd added the ability to be able to read cards, so DESFire credentials off Command Center Mobile, and we've made some changes to that. So in Command Center Mobile, going back, we can open doors, gates, you can grant or deny access, check alarms, you can update cardholder photos, and evacuation is the example that we'll be talking about shortly, and obviously initiating lockdowns. So here we're showing that an operator or a warden is able to grant people access onto site, swiping their cards or their credential. And the new version of Command Center 830 will be able to do phone-to-phone credential reads. So that's been a big change. On site, so what we're demonstrating here is that the operator or the warden's able to do spot checking of people, and they can very easily tell whether or not they're allowed access into a particular area or not. Okay, so during an evacuation, you can put the site into evacuation mode. The warden will be there, and you can see that he's reading staff cards. So they're able to move people very easily from office zones, warehouse zones, or on-site zones into a muster zone. So you can very quickly determine who's still on site and whether you've got the appropriate number of people outside of and manage to get them all into the muster zone to safety. And obviously during a lockdown, prevent people from gaining unwanted access around the site. So we have added to, like I mentioned before, mobile enhancements, so we can now read phone to phone with supported devices. So it's really an extension of being able to read cards from the phones. And I think, Rob, you were going to add something here?
Just to add that there are 3 or 4 enhancements to Command Center Mobile and Connect in this version, and they're well worth checking out. There's more detail in our feature summary, and just again extending our commitment to the ongoing mobility expectations of system users. Okay,
cool. Thanks, Rob. This is one that Dean's going to talk to. I think this is actually a really interesting thing that could help speed up deployment of credentials and save people a lot of money from the photo capture, which traditionally has been a problem getting large groups of people to one area. So Dean.
Yeah, so traditionally photo ID had been captured within Command Center at a fixed workstation. It involved someone taking a photo, emailing or taking it to a capture station and then enrolling it. Now with 8:30, this will be able to be done directly from the application on a mobile phone. So this will speed up the time it takes to capture photos and get them into the system. It'll also mean it's easier to deploy where you've got really large amounts of people that you want to capture their photo, or they're in remote sites or branches that they can be captured quickly and easily without all having to go to central locations or to an office at that facility. So it really should A, speed it up, B, simplify it, and with good quality images now from phones should enhance the quality of the images within our system. Thanks, Carl.
Cool. Yeah, we actually had a real use case about 12 months ago where a large utility provider in South Australia rolled out Gallagher across 45 sites. They ended up having to pay for a professional photographer and a security tech to go to 45 sites to do image capture of about 2,500 people. So you can certainly imagine that this tool is really going to speed the process up and add some huge efficiency to deploying those kind of solutions in the future. Okay. Random cardholder selection. So this is a feature that we've had in Gallagher Command Center for quite a few years now as a customization. This has actually been brought into core product now, so you don't have to do multiple upgrades of customizations. It just sits within core. And it's a pretty handy feature, especially given what we're going through at the moment, and it does pretty much exactly what you think it would, random cardholder selection. The example would be that say at a mine site where they wanted to select 1 in 25 people to have to present for a drug and alcohol random selection. This is the engine that lets you create those rules and create those kind of compliance, your compliance matrices within an organisation. So we've got a little video that we can talk to that actually shows how seamlessly it works. Okay, so now within Command Center, we've got an administration tile for random cardholder selection. We're about to see where you would actually set up the compliance rules and what the selection criteria were, how random you want to make things. I think Rob's going to cover that off in a minute, and we'll move to here. So you actually see people presenting their credentials at a reader at the T20. This person here has been selected for an alcohol screening. And bad news, it looks like there's alcohol detected on his breath, so he's got a very unhappy trip to HR. Yes, and obviously, this is all recorded against the cardholder record as well. So we can certainly run reports to demonstrate compliance with testing procedures if required. Yes, so Rob, do you want to cover off?
Yeah, just to touch on a couple of the parameters you can configure there, Carl. So the chance of selection is a percentage per access group. And obviously you might be selecting on different criteria at different periods or at different access points. The minimum or maximum number of selections in a given period, and things like the selection messaging to appear on the T20 terminal as well. There's additional resiliency. The selection's now based at the controller, so that's another advantage from 8:30.
Cool.
Back to you, Carl.
Thanks, Rob. Next slide. Okay, Milestone video interface. This is something that we've done a significant amount of work on, and 8:30 we've really enhanced the Milestone interface. Dean and myself actually ran a webinar last week in conjunction with Milestone, actually hosted it. So that's certainly available if you'd like to see the full version of the video and the actual webinar. We'll go into much greater detail there. But essentially we've created a bi-directional integration with Milestone Xprotect. So events, alarms, card holders, access control events, completely bi-directional now. So that really gives the operators a single source of truth and a consistent platform across both systems, that when they're making decisions around alarm processing and alarm handling, it gives them better information so they can make better decisions on how they're handling things. So we'll just touch on two quick alarms here, just that highlights that, yes, they're bi-directional and what the benefits are. So this is a snippet from the webinar from last week. I'll start this off. We've got a canned alarm that Dean created for a failed access or a card holder being denied access to an area. So we'll wait till he clicks on that. Okay, so I'll move my cursor around now. This is the alarm that we're looking at. Emma Bennett was denied access into the office area through the warehouse rear entry. And the reason that she had no zone privilege. And you would look down the bottom left here and you can see that her general site induction has expired, hence the failed alarm notification. Cardholder photo, there'll be the site plan to the right hand side there, and the footage of the camera at the time that the access was tried to be taken. So then we would see the same alarm persistent across to Milestone, so you can see quite easily that the warehouse entry on their site plans has an alarm around it, and the operator within Xprotect is actually going to process and acknowledge the alarm, and we'll see how that flows back into the Gallagher command center platform. So they looked at the alarm, they looked at the CCTV, they're happy to acknowledge it. Jumping back into command center, you can see now that the alarm has changed status to acknowledged. So that's happened seamlessly and instantaneously. Jumping back into Xprotect, we're going to close out the alarm now. And you'll see that the alarm is now actually, so once they've set it to close, jumping back into command center as you expect, you see the alarm now shows that it's been processed by the operator on the Milestone terminal. Right, the second alarm that we focused on to show bidirectional processing was an alarm at a vault. Right, so what we're looking at here, we've got an alarm, a motion detection event. So this is actually a VMS initiated event. So it's detected motion, it's passed through to the operator, the incident in the screen, and then at the bottom here, the operator is able to see what the current state of the camera, also the current state of the field of view. So it really lets an operator make a determination when they're handling an alarm, what was happening at the time of the alarm and what is happening now. So whether they want to send a security guard or it might have been a false alarm, that sort of thing. It's all about giving an operator the most amount of information to make a good decision when they're processing and handling an alarm. Okay, so you can see there they got the post, the incident, and then live. Okay. And like I said again, if you want to see the full webinar with commentary, sort of going through a few different use cases and real world scenarios, feel free. We'll certainly send that link out or have that available. You can certainly ask your sales teams or your technical managers, and we're happy to distribute that now that it's in recorded format. Right, minor enhancements. So as part of our ongoing approach to software development, we do 2 major releases per year, as most of you probably know. So whilst we're focused on some major enhancements, there are some minor enhancements, but there's also stuff that happens behind the scenes that you don't see. So there's also things like bug fixes, cybersecurity enhancements and things like that. Just given the time constraints that we have today, we're focusing on 2 of the more interesting ones. And so certainly happy to go into greater detail via the TAMs or the sales teams with anything you'd like to see further. Okay, so this is the list of the minor enhancements that we have. Today we are focusing on Logon with FIDO2 credential or tokens, and Rob knows a whole bunch more about FIDO2 tokens than I do, so over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Carl. So this is in the area of operators logging on to config client or command center. So passwords are getting more complex and easier to forget and prone to compromise. So logging on using a FIDO2 token offers an alternative, secure yet convenient log-on option. So FIDO2 tokens, they're not a Gallagher thing, they're available in market. A lot of leading software applications already use those. I've listed a couple there. It's the standard of choice for many. So you can configure operators to log on using FIDO2 token, as well as a password or a PIN in addition, or a password or PIN in addition to that. So multi-factor. And this will replace our smart card login feature for those who are familiar with that, whereby you can log on with MyFair Classic to the config client. So we'll obsolete that in the next version. Back to you, Carl.
So that's given that MyFair Classic cards are completely compromised now, so it's a bad credential. Yes, they're able to be cloned very easily. So it's nice to see that we're keeping check with cyber here. Okay, so DESFire EV1 and EV2 credential key migration. Again, Dean Matheson probably knows a whole bunch more about key migration than myself. So Dean, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Starting in version 8.20, we enabled by default site secret keys as default. Previously, there'd been a Gallagher default key for all sites, and you could choose to have a secret key yourself and enable that. With 8.20 for new sites, it was enabled by default, and each site got their own secret key, which was far more secure because the site was responsible for the keys, held their data there, and if the generic key was some way compromised, they weren't affected. The problem for going forwards was that if a site already used DESFire secret keys that were Gallagher issued, then how to migrate to the new site-specific keys without disrupting the site. So with version 8.30, we now have the ability to simply and easily migrate keys from the standard Gallagher secret keys to a site-specific key. So this will make it more secure, but it's seamless. So a channel partner or a suitably privileged administrator can enable certain readers to be used to change the key from the default key to the site-specific key. The end user won't notice any difference, and when the site has got to 90, 95% or all the people they believe they'll capture, they can then disable that feature. And they could just have one reader somewhere that you have to go to if you haven't been able to get to those other readers in the time, and just update your card. Again, just present your card and it'll be updated. So it's made it simple to do, easy for the end person, the card holder, and will increase the security of the site going forward. Thanks, Carl.
Cool, thank you, Dean. Right, onto something, removal of obsolete hardware. So as of 8.30, any controller 3000s, 5000s and local bus devices are no longer supported. So you won't be able to upgrade from 8.20 to 8.30 or any previous version to 8.30 if you have any of this hardware on site. And we wanted to show that the graphic on the right hand side, that the controller 5000 and the 3000, they've been around for 19 years plus. It was around 19 years. So this hardware is based on 386 processors, which you wouldn't run anything on those today. They can't keep current. We can't keep the code base current with these old controllers. So we've had messaging out in the market since 2017 why we're choosing to obsolete these while we're end-of-lifing them. The 3000s and 5000s have been on run out since 2011. Yeah, and the other point behind this too is that we've had the controller 6000 out since 2009. So we've had 11 years worth of backwards compatibility that we've been running on these sites. So it's been a really lot of work going into keeping the 3s and the 5s and giving people that time to transition over to the new 6000s. But yeah, we're at that time now. That was time since 2017. We've been telling people about it, but yeah, come 8.30, we're here now. So it is time to upgrade. Dean, I think you had some stuff about cyber and.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. So one of the main reasons, other than the ones that Carl has talked about, is that our older legacy controllers no longer support current up-to-date encryption or best practice around cybersecurity. So a site could, we've been continually hardening our system, reducing security risks and keeping up with best practice on our 6000s, our command center, and around networks. But we've still had legacy support and installations. Thus, this was an area that could be more vulnerable than other areas in our system, and thus making the customer's network vulnerable to attack. So from 8.30 onwards, we'll no longer be supporting this, and then our system from end-to-end software all the way through to DESFire card technology will be hardened and using best security principles. Thanks, Carl.
Cool, thank you, Dean. Right, so that's the conclusion of the presentation materials. So yeah, we just wanted to hammer home that, you know, having the benefit of having an SMA with Gallagher, that you're getting these twice yearly releases, you're getting the major enhancements, you're getting the minor enhancements, and it's stuff under the hood that you're not seeing. Like Dean keeps has reiterated that, you know, we're really making big changes in our cyberspace, and that we really have a huge focus on making sure we're, you know, best of class in what we're delivering in that space. So yeah, we'd like to move on to the question section now. Okay, I have a site 2 years ago that already had command center interface with Milestone. Can you brief what major upgrade on this new version, the interface, video storage on your server or workstation? Okay, so Dean, you might want to cover off what versions we're supporting with this. I know from our side, the bidirectional integration is working from 8 to 30. On the Milestone side,
it's going to be 2019 R1 and R3 and 2020 R1 are the ones that we'll be testing against currently. Some of the other upgrades, I suppose, is to support H.265 cameras interfaced, and also the bidirectional alarms. So in the past, we had limited ability to send alarms from Command Center to Xprotect, which would then allow us to control more Xprotect functions, i.e. Video walls switching, but also it meant that operators within Xprotect could acknowledge alarms and close alarms within Command Center. There'll be no change in the storage or operation of storage of video from a Command Center point of view. But what you will be able to do now is from within our URL tile is carry out Xprotect investigations and look at videos and so forth through the web page. Thanks, Carl.
Okay, another question. Are the photos being captured on a mobile device stored on the Gallagher cloud at a local level? And what is the time for the photo being captured on the device to show up at a workstation? So with the Command Center Mobile, that's not going out through any cloud provisioning service. That's directly, that's the Command Center Mobile talking Wi-Fi. You might want to set up your own VPN for secure communications back via your local area network, so your local Wi-Fi to Command Center. So I don't believe we're storing any photos on the cloud at all. Rob, is that correct?
That's correct. It goes straight to the server, and it's as quick as the network connection. So on a slow 3G, you could get up to 12 or 15 seconds, is what we found in our testing.
Okay, so are the photos actually stored on the actual phone as well, or is that up to the operator or the user to delete them off there?
They're captured directly through the phone or device, but they're not stored there. They're stored as they would be when you do it from a standard Command Center workstation. So it's really just a portal to take the photo, capture it, and then store it within the Command Center database.
Okay, thank you guys. There's a question here, when will Vision Pass be fully integrated? I'm not too sure about that. Rob, is that something we'd have to go back via email?
Yeah, let's follow up via email. No current plans regarding that.
Okay, can you post out the link for the Milestone integration webinar? We certainly can. We've got that link that we can share with you. And I think there's a couple more questions here. Publish. There was a question there about the versions and the upgrading. Okay, if you have legacy controllers, will it mean that you're stuck at pre 830, or will there be other incremental software upgrades? From what I understand, no. So moving to 830, so if you're sitting on 820 or an earlier version, you cannot deploy 830. The pre-validation tool that you would run beforehand won't allow you to upgrade the site to 830 based on the legacy controllers not being supported any further. Is there anything you want to say? You've got the validation tool you might want to cover off, Rob, quickly?
Only to see that we're really encouraging as an essential step prior to upgrade. Really just making sure, even things like operating systems and SQL versions and things, just making sure compatibility is all there. But as Carl mentioned, it's really essential to run that prior to checking 830.
Yeah, so if you've got sites that are running legacy hardware, I really strongly suggest that you get in touch with the channel partner, or if you're a channel partner, get in touch with your local sales teams, the TAMs, the technical account managers and the sales managers. And we can really sort of help work out, how many controllers we believe are on site, and then actually work out a migration plan with those sites. So we're certainly happy to help go see clients with you, certainly happy to help deliver this information and the benefits of actually deploying and getting rid of these old controllers off the platforms or off the sites. Okay, I think that looks like the end of the questions. So like I said earlier, we're going to record today. Hopefully everybody got a lot out of it, and again, if you've got any questions or queries, feel free to come back to the channel partners or the sales managers or the technical account managers, or obviously the marketing team as well. So thank you very much everybody for your time.